Good morning and welcome to Mission Alive. Over the past few weeks we've been talking about the MSC involvement in China, and in the first part I introduced you to the German missionaries, and in this second part I'm telling the story of myself and Father Greg McAnally, who have been in China since 1998, and we eventually had to leave in 2013. In the last episode I talked about staying at the communist hotel, which was at the back of the church. We talked about the church and how it was used as a grain storage, but now it's been restored a little bit, but it's in a state of disrepair even now. We talked about the orphans and how I was able to help the orphans. But I'd like you to have a look at this photo here. You can see from this photo that the church inside is absolutely terrible. It leaks, and the roof is just about falling down. The place, and in fact, I think you'll find that the government were going to actually pull it down. It's made of mud bricks, and the mud bricks were made by the German missionaries when they were there. Can you imagine building a church that size out of mud bricks? And those pieces of wood, how the heck did they get those huge logs of wood up there where they are? I don't know. Those early German missionaries were amazing. Anyway, in this photograph you can see three of my students who came with me from Zunyi Medical University, and we were able to have a look at the church and have a good see. Now on this side, this is the church again, and on the same day Father Razap was saying Mass, and you can see the ceiling is really bad, looks like it's falling in. But the interesting thing is at the back is that picture of Christ the King. And that picture of Christ the King was also a picture that they took back in 1938. It was a different picture, but it was still of Christ the King. So they still continued that devotion. Okay, so we had that part of the church there, and as I said to you, I stayed at the Communist Party Hotel up there. There's the convent, the old convent, which is now a museum for the Long March, owned by the Communist Party. This is the presbytery, which is still a part of the church. So there were approximately 400 Catholics in Churchian, and the number hasn't changed much over the years. About a quarter of them attend Mass on a regular basis. As you enter the presbytery, the first thing you see are photos of the early missionaries on the wall. See the early missionaries? This photograph here is a photograph of the sisters and the orphans, taken in 1935, I think, around 35. And today, there's two of the orphans. There were 5 orphans, but the other 3 were too shy. This one here is Anna. This one here is Amy. Look at Amy very, very carefully. Look at Amy, because in a couple of weeks' time I'm going to show you another photograph of Amy. She has been an amazing lady. Okay, so the photographs that you see on the wall were actually taken down during the Cultural Revolution, which was really important, because if they weren't taken down, they could be arrested for having foreign interference. So they took the photos down, hid them, and then in 1991 they put the photos back up again. These German missionaries, MSCs, were held in great esteem, and I'm proud to be part of their story. After my first visit there, and I saw how the church was in disarray and how poor the place was, terribly, terribly poor, unbelievably poor. I'd never seen such poverty, in fact. And even today, Shenzhen is one of the poorest cities in China. It's recognised as one of the poorest. So after my first visit, I offered to sponsor the orphans because I had a bit of money, because I was a lecturer at the university, and while I wasn't getting a lot of money, I was certainly getting enough to sponsor these young children. Not a problem. So I offered to sponsor the orphans, and after some negotiation with Bishop Paul Shao, Bishop Paul is the local bishop, the Bishop of Guizhou, and Guizhou is now the one diocese. There used to be there were about 4 dioceses in it before. Now they've changed it all and made it all into just one diocese, and that makes sense because the infrastructure has become so much easier to organise. So Bishop Paul, who's a great mate of mine, and but it's not easy to be a bishop in China, I can tell you. We negotiated with Bishop Paul Shao that Mark MacDonald, who was the Superior General, and the MSc General Administration found funds to restore the church. So I explained to them and took photographs of what the church was like. So we had a big talk about that. These photographs here you can see was the meal they put on for us one day when I was visiting there. Greg McAnally's there, one of my students, who always took a student with me to help with translation, and these are the parish council, and they put on a meal for as far as they were concerned. This was a feast. This is a coal burner. It was in the middle of winter. You put the coal in there and you have a little hot plate on the top, and they cook things there, keep everything warm there, and we had our meal there. This is a feast for a country people. This was a feast. We had about 7 or 8 dishes, and they never had that. They would have 2 or 3 max. So it was a very special occasion as far as they were concerned.